Так, друзья, всем привет, на канале Tempo of Play, на связи Игорь. Продолжаем играть в Forgotten City. Я уж думал, она заглючила. Так, он нам... Лир. Нам он дал ключик от этой двери. Посмотрим, что здесь. Я предполагаю, сейчас здесь будут опять эти золотые статуи, жившие. Достаем, наверное, лук. Друг философа. Ничего интересненького. Так, либо туда, либо туда. А, вот он сидит, дорогуша. Да? А, нет, это... Где-то там кто-то рычит. Сенет, правила которого давно забыты. Мумия, понятно, вот это. Казалось, что-то там есть. Стрелос много, хватит на всех. Вон там одна шевелится. Здесь еще кто? Вон. Все. Опять это настольная игра. Так, кто там живой? Канал упал в голову. Скрижаль. Так, золотая статуя, опять эта игра. Голову с одного выстрела. На огонь стал. Те вроде не шевелится. Но здесь, надо смотреть особо нечего. Египетские, в общем, здесь сооружения. А это кто у нас? Это, наверное, это. Кабаш. А ты кто?
I am Kabash. And let me guess, another Greek or Roman come to loot and plunder the resting place of my ancestors,
Я просто ищу египетскую скрижаль.
To what end?
Хочу ее вернуть в обелиск.
That is welcome news. You really are not Greek or Roman, are you? I was planning to return it myself, but for now, I must remain. Here, take it and restore the honor of Osiris.
Честь Осириса. Значит так, табличку нам дал. Это было слишком. Спасибо.
Now, as for the other plaque.
Четвертый сказать, ты про нее знаешь?
Indeed, I have
Да,
it
она у
right
меня.
here. I stumbled across a collection of dusty curiosities while searching for a place to hide from the hungry children of Amit, and there it was.
Можешь мне отдать?
You may not. In fact, I am about to destroy it.
Зачем?
Because it speaks a treacherous, blasphemous lie.
Какая?
I will tell you, but first, do you know what this place is?
Египетский подземный мир.
It has a name, and that is
Дуат.
the Duat. See what has become of it. I have been down here for weeks, piecing together its story, and here is what I have learned. As Egypt declined and the Greeks had their turn to flourish, their souls came here in great numbers. But instead of adopting our ways, they copied and corrupted them. When they found the obelisk bearing the name Osiris, the true god of the underworld, they desecrated it,
Аид. То есть
removing
Осирис,
his name
Аид и
and
Плутон.
replacing it with Hades. Even the ferryman of the dead, known to my people long
Херти.
before as Kerti,
Они назвали
they
его Харон.
renamed to Keron. As if that desecration was not enough, they built over this place, using it as the foundation for their own underworld, so that ours was forgotten. My only solace is that the Greeks then suffered the same fate when the Romans rose to power, renaming Hades to Pluto. And the
Аидов
cycle
Плутона, и
began
цикл
anew.
начался заново. Понятно. Что не так с этой скрижалью-то?
It is inscribed with a script I do not recognize, but it is ancient, almost as if it is older than the plaque bearing Osiris's name. But if that is so,
Греки,
it would
римляне,
imply
египтяне.
gods of Egypt are mere
Кто
imitations
же
too, copied and
четвертые были
corrupted from
там?
an ancient people who prospered even before us. And that my people did to them what the Greeks and Romans did to us. But this, I cannot accept. I sense a deception. Perhaps it is the work of Set, the usurper, seeking to undermine Osiris once more.
Солгать ему или нет? Вот кто вот была еще... Кто из цивилизаций была? Какая-нибудь византийская, не византийская. Как они назывались-то? Кто там были-то? Забыл. Так, что написано? Если ты отдашь мне, я ее уничтожу. Солгать ему? Или... Что написано?
You will never know. This work of sacrilege must be destroyed, thrown into the black abyss below in Osiris's name.
Вот так вот. Оставь, она мне нужна. Прошу, не надо. Ну, наверное, да. Прошу, не надо.
You are too late. It is done.
Так, зря это сделать. Теперь мне придется за ней спускаться.
You would plunge into the depths of the Duat with no way back up. Madness.
Посмотрим. Сначала хочу задать тебе пару вопросов.
If it will help you to see reason, then ask.
О себе
I
расскажи.
am from Rakotis, which you
Ракотиса.
may know as Alexandria, the name of the city the Greeks built over it. I was a fisherman, like my father before me. Since the Romans had taken over from the Greeks, I took the opportunity to learn Latin and eventually traveled to Rome. When the fires broke out last year, I tried to help. I gathered terrified locals into my boat and led many of them to safety farther along the Tiber. On my 7th trip, a passenger demanded I wait for his brother. But we were full to almost sinking, and smoke was all around us. I told him his brother would have to save himself, and he tried to bribe me by placing a coin into my hand. When I refused, he drew a dagger and thrust it between my ribs. I awoke on the banks of the river to a stranger wearing a ram headdress. He said his name was Kirti, and at the time, I simply thought him odd. It did not dawn on me until much later that he was the Kirti, the ram-headed ferryman described in the Book of the Dead.
Понятно, в общем. Он здесь также оказался. Харон его переправил сюда. Так, что ты думаешь, там? Как думаешь, что внизу?
I do not know. What could possibly lie beneath the underworld? Perhaps it is infinite darkness. Perhaps it is the lair of Amit, the devourer of souls. All I know is, it would be unwise to venture down there.
Теперь мне еще больше хочется туда спуститься. Возможно.
Most unwise.
Ну, я пойду.
Be gone from this place. Wait, you
Точно.
would plunge into the depths of the Duat with no way
Ну
back
да,
up.
я хочу туда спуститься. За ними нужна она. Я найду путь наверх.
We shall.
Кидаю туда, давай. Кинул он туда. А там что-нибудь есть? Погоди, сначала схожу сюда, посмотрю. Что это за головой барана? Херти, Харон или кто там?
Beware the children of Amit.
Оба. А, смотреть, шумерская. Вот кто, шумерская. Скрижаль, клин, писано, Нергал, неистовый король. Вот кто. В общем. Шумеры. Так, таинственная скрижаль. Прям какая у него борода золотая. Еще ниже, в общем, я спустился, получается. Все 4 скрижали собрать. Так, мне показывается, что кто-то ходит. Нет, это статуя прошивается. А что, туда нельзя? А туда нельзя, кстати. Не пускают. Дай-ка фонарик мы включим. Баррикады. То есть тут шумерская, наверное, религия или все такое. Постройки шумеров. Баррикада. Ну, в общем, нам туда только. Табличка. Древний камень, табличка. Плохо видно, вот так почитаем тогда. Дозорный Нергала. Возьмем. Ну. Так, это что? Ржавая латунная пластина. Смотреть. Ну, для какой-то ловушки. Понятно, это ловушка, в общем. Ловушка. А что у нас работает, когда не наступаем на нее? Наверх нельзя? Слушай, а тут можно пройти? Нет, я забыл, что тут только обойти можно. Значит, обходим, идем сюда, смотрим, что здесь есть интересненького. Керамика, шумерская керамика. Это что у нас за предмет? Странный каменный предмет в форме чемодана. Это мы никогда не узнаем, для чего они нужны были. Ну, скорее всего, какой-то ключ, что ли, может быть. Так, там нету этих золотых. Баррикада очередная. Еще одна плита нажимная с ловушкой. Наступишь, значит, все, капец. Погибнешь. Так, здесь мы не пройдем. Ну, там коля сработали. Так, где мой золотой лук?
When I told you that you would not find a way back up, that was not a prediction. That was a promise. You will die here.
Угу, то есть вот кто нам не даст пройти, получается. Он засранец. Ладно, нет нужды доводить насилие.
I disagree. I warned you against coming down here, against perpetuating this sacrilege. But you persisted. You have undermined and dishonored the true God of the underworld. How did you think this would end, if not with bloodshed?
Выслушай меня.
Very well, I will listen. But if I sense deception, or if you further insult my gods, I will carry out my threat. So tell me, why should I let you live after you salvaged this instrument of blasphemy?
Угу. То, что нужно уничтожить, правда, и заслужит уничтожения. Строить свою работу на основе чужой не постыдно. Я просто пытаюсь вернуть. Ну, скорее всего, первый вариант, потому что он как бы более убедительный.
Then you admit it. You wish to destroy the sacred beliefs of my people. I will not allow this. Many of my ancestors endured great hardship to live good lives so that we may descend to the duat in death and be judged accordingly. We prepare to have our hearts weighed on Anubis' scales and to swear ourselves innocent of sin before the 42 assessors of Ma'at. And yet, I arrive here to find the Book of the Dead contained only a seed of truth. And now, I ask myself, did our priests steal and embellish the stories of an older people and feed us lies all our lives simply to trick us into obedience?
Скорее всего, вини ваших жрецов. Но, как бы, я думаю, что не надо его обвинять. Разве честная жизнь не цена сама по себе?
I am not sure I follow. Speak plainly.
В общем, надо его убедить, получается. Твои верования про загробную жизнь оказать неверны. Если при жизни ты был честен лишь потому, что ждал награду, был ли ты по-настоящему честен? Или вот это твои верования просто про загробную жизнь оказались неверны? Но разве важно не то, что благодаря им ты жил честно? Ну, возможно, вот это, скорее всего, я так подозреваю.
Perhaps there is some truth in that. What is your point?
Неужели ты отречешься от своей доброты в самый важный момент просто из-за того, что тебя обманули? Да, его обманули, он... Убедить, в общем, его нужно было.
I will remain here for a while and attempt to learn what I can about the foundations of my people's beliefs. Go.
Говорит, уходи. Ну что, так, плиту нам это нельзя нажимать. Скрижали у нас, в принципе, есть все. Вон он стоит. Абаш. Туда мы не пройдем, ничего тут взять нечего. Ну, в общем, отсюда надо уходить. Туда даже нельзя пройти. Ну, не надо тебе тут ходить. Не ходи. Абаш. Спустился за мной говнюкать. Хотел меня убить. Получается, вот эти двери, где я обратно возвращаюсь. Получается, так, что ли? Здесь дар Прометея. Фонарик. Не хочет он больше со мной ничего разговаривать. Ну, в общем. По рукам. Философ-отшельник. А там, по-моему, там можно было... Погоди. Ты пройти. Там, здесь можно было пройти по коротким путем. У нас тут этот храм обрушился, сюда зашел бандит. Лук, стрелы, динары. Одна монета. То есть он с одной монеткой, то есть зашел сюда, попал. В общем, нам нужно наверх идти, получается. Так, сейчас посмотрим. 4 в обелиска. Дополнительных заданий у нас больше нету. Точка отсчета, временной парадокс. Интересно. Зато правило, игралка в труд, божественное вмешательство. В обращении к богам за помощью. Это что-то такое... Не знаю даже. Ну-ка. А если... Спросить ее. Давай спросим.
A new face. Ave, and may Vesta watch over you. I'm Equitia. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
Так... Ну, надо, скорее всего, про вот это. Так, это мы все слышали. Все, мы это слышали от тебя. Здесь ничего новенького. Так, вот получается 1, 2, 3, 4. Тем же путем. Ну, в принципе, не тем путем, но практически.
All Romans try to avoid saying it, and the reason is quite simple. He might hear us. You may refer to him as Pluto, if you wish.
Так, Плутон лицом к лицу с Саидом.
Is everyone so blunt where you're from? Oh. That option would be the boldest, but also the only way to learn the truth about the golden rule, and maybe, as I
Ну все, мы это слышим. У меня есть пара козырей в рукаве.
I'll admit, you do seem different. So, if you want to confront, who knows? Perhaps your name will. But first, you'd need an audience with you know
Великий
who.
храм на вершине.
The problem is, the door has been sealed shut. I suspect the answer lies in the It looks as though somebody, or a series of somebodies, forcibly removed them, and in doing so, dishonored and angered our divine. If you could recover and replace all 4 of those missing plaques, I imagine he might be willing to receive an audience again.
В общем, про обелиск, но это мы слышали все уже.
However, that
Загадочную скрижаль, все. Все, ладно, верну.
May Fortuna guide.
В принципе, с ней мы не поговорим. Богам за помощью. Вот у нас Гераклов труд. Пойдем этим путем. А вот мне честно, за храм там, что это за дверь, как ее открыть? Что это за дверь там такая?
Be careful who you
Нет ли у меня
trust.
ключа от нее? Что это за вход, за выход? Нет у меня ключа. Так, одну вставили. Еще одну вставили. Египетская и шумерская. Что происходит? А, ворота открылись. Круто. Что, надо сохраниться на всякий случай. Может, концовку близ. Так, произнеси имя. Но здесь, я так понимаю, у них Плутон, даритель богатства, и прими меня. Осирис, властелин тишины, прими меня. Нергаланистый король, прими меня. Аид, владыка масс, прими меня. Ну, тут, скорее всего, Плутон, я так понимаю, потому что же у них же римляне, да, у них Плутон. Правильно? Или нет? Узнаем, я думаю. Но если открылось, значит правильно. Ты уже близко, говорит. Храм. Так, вот здесь кто? Опять его нужно. А я даже не знаю, кого здесь выбрать. Кто там был, по-моему? Как вот это догадаться? А можно назад? Ну давай, Аид, допустим. О, отгадал. Здесь вот что мы должны тут увидеть? Египетская это. Так, здесь кто-то из египетских должно быть, да? Ну тут, скорее всего, либо нергаланистый король. Ну, нет, не Осирис, скорее всего, властитель тишины, прими меня. Да, точно. Осирис. Вот здесь, походу, больше шумерская уже культура. Шумеры. Там кто у них был? Нергал, наверное, да? Получается, он остается. Ух ты. Это что такое? Это какая-то нанотехнологии какие-то. Нифига себе. Это куда я попал? Офигеть. Так это не подземный мир, это какая-то комната испытаний была, я так понимаю, вот этот шар. Они за нами наблюдали, что ли, так? Вот этот поворот.
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names. Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the Greeks, and Pluto to the Romans. But the one constant through it all has been my title, God of the Underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You're unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so brazenly that there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity. Ask what you will.
Такс. Что ж, расскажи о себе.
My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know?
В чем ты выглядишь, говоришь, как человек?
My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind. In time, we grew fond of the sensory delights it affords: desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
Могу я увидеть тебя в истинной форме?
No. Long ago, I swore to Persephone that I would remain in this form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
Так, ты бог?
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself.
Высокоразвитый
Your
технологичный чувак.
ancestors revered me
Просто.
because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that, there are rules even I must obey.
Да, все, что люди не могли объяснить, они считали, что это делает Бог. А это всего лишь напросто высокоразвитые какие-то, не знаю, там, цивилизации. Кто эта женщина слева от тебя?
This is my beloved. Like me, she has been known by many names. Ereshkigal to the Sumerians, Isis to the Egyptians, Persephone to the Greeks, and Persephone to the Romans. Or perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal.
Не говори ему о том, что тебе стало недобро.
Wears many faces and goes by many
Бог подземного
names.
мира.
Kumutubal to the Sumerians, Kirti to the Egyptians,
Харон,
Charon to the Greeks,
Харуримен.
Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless
Незаметно для
as
них
possible.
самих.
For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferry.
Кормчий.
We will talk more later. For now, ask your questions.
Поговорим о чем-нибудь другом еще.
As you wish.
Это ты ее в золотой правил, да, наверное? Что это за место?
It has come to be known simply as the Underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago.
Что это был за спор?
That is a long story, one that began over 3,000 years ago and continues to this day. You see, long ago my kin and I set out from our home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves, your 2 short lives being extinguished by violence and ignorance and disease. Yet Proserpina saw raw potential in you, and persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Sumer. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty. But my Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind. And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation in a deep frozen sleep to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring you with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him, but he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind, the last of my kind, to watch over you without interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my goddess of springtime. And here I am, after all this time, still waiting.
То есть он ждет 3000 лет. Кто еще был среди вас?
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader, Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina.
Так, кто построил этот город?
As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build a city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths, to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives, and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before, and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive, and then the Romans, and they all did the same thing. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their foundations tokens were forgotten.
Понятненько. Как ты решала, кто окажется здесь?
To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from silver, a rare element at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, they would come to be known as Charon's obol, or as coins for the ferryman. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the original tokens. In fact, almost all of the tokens are accounted for, only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Persepolis along with it.
Как люди узнали о подземном мире?
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was a king of Sumer,
Царь Шумер, Бунтарь.
troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people, on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely, and he told stories of this place as if describing memories of a dream. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, and his words were twisted and
Я писала
distorted
о
over
Гильгамеше.
generations. Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld, making them wildly intricate and labyrinthine. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place in their priests' pursuit of profit. Then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning, and in a series of incidents that will not be repeated,
5 совершили из них побег.
escaped. A
Греки.
warrior named Heracles,
Геракл,
2 kings
2
named
царя Сизиф и
Sisyphus and
Тесей, и
Theseus,
поэт Орфей,
a
и
poet
троянец
named
Эней.
Orpheus,
Да, как
and
раз
a
таки.
Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and how to escape. And so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome,
Так, от Шумера
all
до Египта, от
kinds
Греции до Рима.
always told each other stories about this
Вы
place.
пересказывали друг другу
though each
поверья об этом
story
месте.
contained only a seed of truth.
Так, поговорим о чем другом.
Of course,
Так, это ты ввел золотое правило, так?
that is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
Что для тебя грех? Тогда так спросим у меня.
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it. Curious, is it not?
Я сюжетью. Ну, скорее всего, солгать ему без толку. Тут, скорее всего, руководствоваться этим принципом не так-то просто, как кажется. Да, и ты, кажется, свое правило тоже не соблюдаешь. Ну, скорее всего, первое.
For you, perhaps.
Так, зачем превращать людей в золото? Наверное, скорее всего, так. И откуда взялись эти золотые луки? Мне довелось увидеть ужасные вещи, которые ты легко не считаешь, как ты позволил всему этому случиться.
Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
Пример привести. Эксперимент над золотыми статуями.
The midwife in the palace, yes.
Повитуха из двора, да. Но она бы не хотела, чтобы над ней экспериментировали, если была бы покрыта золотом.
The rule is do unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now. Bloodless shadows, mere shapes of their former selves. They are forsaken. What happens to them is no concern of mine.
Это буквально трактовка правил.
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. A literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your primitive language.
На нашем языке много двухсмысленности. Разве это не делает правило субъективным и ненадежным?
Supposing you're right, and my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
Да нет, нет, конечно. Не бери голову.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Так. Я тебе скажу, какие еще я, по-твоему, просмотрел. Все ясно, ты лишь доказывает несколько субъективно ненадежен твои моральные принципы оценки хорошо плохого, ты не лучше людей. Ну это даже не знаю, самоубийство, вряд ли. Завинченная цена необходимая для жизни лекарства. Долговая кабала. Может быть. Самоубийство, похищение. Даже не знаю, что еще можно не спросить. Вот это. Или вот это выбрать.
The merchant. How is that inconsistent with the rule I've outlined?
Он бы не хотел, чтобы кто-то требовал непомерную цену за нужное лекарство, если бы умирал сам.
I disagree. Having watched this merchant, that is precisely what he would expect from others, and he would be quite capable of paying the price anyway.
Возможно. Ты не знаешь, чего бы он ожидал, просто предполагаешь. А если я скажу, не соглашусь с ним?
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Долговая кабала, самоубийство, допустим.
I have seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done to others, however they may be affected by it. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
Соглашаться с ним во всем. Ну ладно, справедливо.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Похищение.
Abduction? You mean the magistrate
Свою
imprisoned
дочь
his
в
daughter and
цистерне.
sister?
Ну да.
He did so because she sought to escape. A sin I take particularly
Сбежать. Хотел.
seriously.
Грех особо тяжкий.
Better that he stops her from escaping, albeit brutishly, than I have to wipe out this entire city to punish her. Wouldn't you agree?
Возможно.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Долговая кабала.
You speak of the moneylender. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
Он бы не хотел обречь себе на 30 лет труда из-за
And
займа.
he would never have signed a contract pledging his labor for 30 years.
Ну, он сам подписал, да,
All
в
he
принципе,
did was
контракт.
enforce the terms of a contract signed voluntarily by others.
Добровольно подписываю. Хорошо.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Ну, тут только последний вариант, это все ясно.
Do you honestly think you could do better?
Это... Ты превратился в тирана.
I should strike you down for that.
Достать деревянный лук. Выполнить закон, достать золотой лук. Если сделаешь это, ты подтвердишь мою точку зрения.
Now, did you have any other questions before your reckoning?
Так. Зачем превращал в золото? Откуда взялись эти золотые луки? Ну, давай еще что-нибудь, может, как-нибудь спросим его, поговорим о чем-нибудь другом. Что для тебя? Надо его как-то вот, скорее всего, вот что для него грех, вот спросить. Где-то я что-то неправильно, видимо, выбрал. Где-то его надо переубедить, что он тоже грех совершает.
This should come as no surprise to
Мы
you,
слышали.
since the core principle. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame. The Romans, even it is the yet none of the people.
Так, но он сам же об этом говорит. Всю жизнь придерживаюсь. Да, ты, кажется, свои правила тоже не соблюдаешь.
Enough. You clearly know nothing.
Зачем превращать людей в золото?
That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building their city, the self-declared ruler threw a banquet to celebrate. Now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife, a prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, two were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the banquet wearing eye-catching dresses and painted faces, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold, and when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands. While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place. She checked that nobody was watching, and pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat, where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe
Покрыв её
in a layer
золотом.
of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin in my domain. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all to make way for a new wave, and began the wager again. And to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, inanimate but conscious, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind for eternity, the silent golden sentinels.
Так, все люди погибли за тебя, да. Значит, все люди погибли
I
за тебя.
give your kind a second chance at life, as well as ample warning about my law. And when you disobey, and you always disobey, you force my hand, bringing terrible suffering upon yourselves. And so you ask if I am the one destroying your lives. And I say, no, you destroy yourselves. I am merely the means by which you do it.
Откуда взялись все эти золотые луки?
When my kin departed, they left behind many relics which I inherited. A consolation prize of sorts.
Утешительный
The
приз.
golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
Как ты понимаешь, что кто-то согрешил? По-моему, я это уже спрашивал у него.
I'm able to commune with...
А Прозерпина тоже общается со статуями?
If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not. Why do you ask?
Почему спрашиваю? Просто так.
Then what an odd question.
Странный вопрос, да. Так, да, перейдем еще.
Very well.
Так. Так, это ты вел за твое
That is
правило?
merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
Что тут выбрать? Ну вот, все-таки мне кажется, грех. Что для тебя грех?
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No
Умение
attempt to lay
относиться
out
самостоятельно.
rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations.
Ну то, что ты в
The
статуе
Egyptians made
золотые.
a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The
Мы
Roman
слышали,
Stoics added,
что
treat
поделись ставящие
even the
выше.
so-called cultists
Ну то есть
hiding
они,
among often say,
они не хотели,
do unto others
чтобы
as you would have them do unto you.
их
It
превратили в
is the
статую,
simplest of
так же, как и ты.
concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who
Как мне
expressed
сказать о
this
том, что
rule
типа
were able to uphold it.
ты же не хотел бы стать золотой статуей, так ведь? Руководствуясь этим принципом не так просто, как кажется. Ну да.
For you, perhaps.
Мне довелось увидеть здесь ужасные вещи, которые грехом не считаешь. Как-то позорюсь ему этому
Do you
случиться.
plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
Вот там с ним поспорить. О чем с ним поспорить? Эксперименты над золотыми статуями. То, что она
The
их
midwife of the
очищала.
palace, yes. How is
Да.
that in
Она бы не хотела, чтобы на ней так
The rule
экспериментировали, это
is do
точно.
unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now. Bloodless shadows, mere shapes of their former selves. They are forsaken. What happens to them is no concern of mine.
Ну, это очень буквальная трактовка правил.
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. A literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your
нашего
primitive
примитивного
language.
языка. На нашем языке много, в смысле, разве это не делает правила субъективно ненадежным?
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
Нет, конечно, не бери голову, ладно.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Значит, нет варианта получается, да? Ну фиг его знает, что тут еще можно. Вот эти вот я уже у него похищение, самоубийство, взвинченные цены, субъективные твои моральные принципы.
Do you honestly think you could do better?
Нет, ну этом ты превратился в
I
тирана.
should strike you down for that.
Ну, давай с ним там, скорее всего, точку зрения подтвердишь.
Now, did you have any
В общем,
other
здесь
questions
нет вот других
before
вариантов.
your reckoning?
Выбрать одно и то же. Поговорим что-нибудь еще. Давай.
Very well.
Что это за место? Расскажи мне, Свет, что это. Так, это вилл золотого правила. Вопросов нету. Ну давай скажем, вопросов нету.
Good. Then now it is time for... Only, it seems,
Что-то не так, говорит.
something is wrong. It has long been within my power to see to the hearts of mortals and weigh their deeds in life. But when I peer into you, I see only a blank slate, as if you did not exist until you appeared in this city. How is this possible?
Очень
Carol,
просто.
Where did you find this one?
I do not remember ferrying you. How did you come here?
Я из будущего. Я из будущего, да.
That is true. Then I sense the intervention of someone powerful.
How did you come to be in this time, mortal? Who brought you here?
We cannot know.
Так. Значит, Прозерпина, значит, меня сюда отправила. Понятненько. Тогда ее нельзя закладывать. Надо солгать им по-любому. По своей воле. У меня была надежда, что ты сам это мне объяснишь.
I do not know. My kin departed long ago, and Proserpina has slumbered for 3,000 years.
Так, разве Бог подземный мир не должен это знать? Кажется, это значит, что тебе известно не все, что творится в городе. Ну, скорее всего, вот это вот он должен знать, по идее. Не должен это знать?
Tread lightly.
Следи за языком такой.
Enough of this. It seems I will need to put your reckoning on hold for now. But answer this. Why have you come here?
Чего ты
What
не
is it
ищешь?
you
Зачем ты
seek?
здесь? Я хочу, чтобы ты отменил золотое правило, да.
Your
Твоя Гардин
hubris
забавно
is
смеется.
amusing,
Ха-ха-ха.
so I will allow you to make your case. But I warn you, if you anger me or waste my time with lies or wrong-headed arguments, you face death here. So, tell me, why should I put an end to the so-called golden rule?
Любит, нет. Почему не надо про нее вообще не нужно. Про Зерпину вообще сдавать никак. Почему ты ждешь, что мы будем вместе решим ты сам на это не способен. Это правило развратило город, сделало твой выигрыш невозможным. Скорее всего, вот это вот золотое правило развратило город. Ну-ка.
How so? And be specific. You have made a grave allegation, and I expect you to back it up.
Фактами. Так. Руфи стал таким параноиком, что он набрасывается на всех подряд, например, на любовь Вергилия к мужчинам.
He is a volatile and confused fellow, that one.
Так. Деци такой сын, что деци, миллион.
True. I have witnessed him doing that.
Малиол.
His cruelty does seem to grow greater by the day.
Это все примеры.
Pathetic. You will need to do a lot better than that.
Почему? Ну а чё? У кого еще ничего нет?
How so? And be specific.
То
Pathetic.
есть мало получается.
How so? And pathetic.
Мало что ли примеров. Почему ты ждешь, что мы будем вести безгрешную жизнь, если сам на это не способен?
That is a very serious accusation, mortal. What sin have I committed? What evidence do you have to support it?
Ты жестоко караешь сотни людей. Некоторые из них лишь чуть оступились, а некоторые вовсе были невиновны. Ты запер в городе против воли. А разве ты не похитил про Зерпину? Ну, про Зерпину опять не надо, не важно. Ну, то, скорее всего, вот это вот самый длинный вариант ответа.
Every one of those people was guilty of failing to ensure their peers lived virtuously. They failed collectively, and so they were punished collectively. The Romans understand this, as did the Greeks before them.
Там, откуда я родом, массовое наказание считается одним из тягощающих. Ну, это там, откуда родом, не знаю, странно, конечно, звучит. Если бы мы поменялись местами, ты бы не хотел, чтобы я наказал тебя за грехи других людей. Вот это, скорее всего. Да, давай поменяемся, я тебя, типа, казню.
Ah, but I'm a god, and you are a mortal. Why would you expect me to treat you as I treat my own kind? You are not a peer. You are not a respected.
Ты не чита. Вот и к остальным другим относится. А, мне не чита.
Do you treat insects as you wish to be treated? Do you care for their well-being as you would your fellow man? Do you ensure they have food and shelter and protection from predators? Do you give them rights?
Нет.
Of course not, because that would be absurd, just as it would be absurd for me to treat your kind as equals.
Ну давай не спрашиваем. В чем народ твой превосходит людей?
Where to begin?
Ты же сам человек
Our
превратился.
lifespans exceed yours by thousands of years.
Но это ни о чем не
Which
говорит, потому что он
time we
длиннее.
accumulate vast wisdom and a mastery of technology you cannot begin to imagine.
Ну и в чем превосходство твоей мудрости, высокой технологии, ваша жизнь? То есть вы тоже смертны. Давай, в чем превосходство твоей мудрости?
Because that is the source of our power over you.
Власть над вами. То есть ты считаешь, что можешь вести себя с нами как тебе угодно, потому что ты сильнее нас. Да-да-да.
You could say that.
Давай, то, что римские стойки говорили, обходить стоящими же так, как ты хотел бы, чтобы с тобой обходились стоящие выше.
My kin have no superiors.
Но разве ты не говорил про вашего лидера Юпитера? У вас есть своя иерархия.
That is true. Go on.
И ты обращаешься с ним так же, как хотел бы обращались с тобой Юпитер.
Make your point, mortal.
Я говорю, если ты сам не можешь жить по своим правилам, почему ожидаешь от этого, вернее, этого от людей?
Let me ponder that for a moment. If you are right, then it would follow that all this time I have been in the wrong. But No. The very thought of it grieves me. How can I accept
То есть
your
посеял в него
when
долю
doing so would
сомнения.
make me a tyrant
Семя
and a
сомнения
monster?
посеял в нем. Ты чудовище. Ты человек, ты совершил ошибку.
Wait, what? What do you say?
Ну, то, что ты человек, человеческое обличие принял, то все правильно. Все люди ошибаются, такова наша природа, это точно.
You have spoken eloquently.
Не ошибается
Yet,
тот,
if
кто ничего не
what
делает.
you say is true, it follows that my wager was fatally flawed from the beginning. But that would mean Jupiter, Proserpina's father, who knew more about you than anyone, proposed a wager I could never win. Why would he do that?
Может, он бросил тебя здесь, потому что даже твой собственный народ от тебя не в восторге. Может быть, он чувствовал в твоем лице угрозу, не хотел меня спорить. Возможно, он хотел пробить, отказаться от спора и оставил Прозерпину в покое. Но, возможно, он тоже ошибся, скорее всего. Вот этот вариант, наверное, тут самый вероятный, мне кажется. Юпитер, отец Прозерпины, знавший о вас больше всех остальных, предложил мне спор, который не смог выиграть. Зачем ему это? Он хотел, чтобы ты отказался от спора и оставил Прозерпину в покое. Ну, не знаю. Соперника на Элизии. Да вряд ли. Давай, возможно, он тоже ошибся,
A
скажем.
mistake. But he is the best and greatest of us.
Я же в нем посеял уже сомнений, долю сомнения. Ты ничем не лучше из нас. Ты опьяненное властью чудовище. Может, приняв человеческую форму, ты перенял кое-какие человеческие слабости. Скорее всего, так вот. Он, когда в человек превратился, он как раз-таки человеческие слабости. Но он говорил о том, что типа счастье, горе и так далее.
Your words sting me, mortal. But perhaps it is what I deserve.
Досада.
As difficult as this is to admit, I have suspected as much for a long time now. And I cannot deny it any longer. I've been so fixated on taking my beloved to Elysium that every time one of you sinned, it wore away my hope of being with her again. In time, I began to despise your kind for making her believe that you could ever be better than you are.
В тебе говорит
But my
ненависть, чувак.
rage was not born of malice. Quite the opposite.
Злоба.
Everything I have done, I did because I loved her. Who knew this empathy of yours, which you celebrate so much,
Потому что она
could
приняла
have
человеческий
such a
облик
dark
полностью.
underside? This has gone on too long. It is time for me to let go of this form, of her, of all of you. But know this, if I abandon the wager and leave for Elysium, neither she nor your kind may ever ascend.
А зачем нам в Элизии какой-то? Мы лишь хотим вернуться в свой мир.
Very well. I will have Charon make arrangements to ferry
Charon.
the others. But as for you, be aware you will be separated from the rest.
Почему?
Once this exodus begins, the events that brought you to this moment will never have taken place,
Создашь
and
парадокс.
you will have created a paradox. What will become of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering in the natural flow of time. Now, are you ready?
Начнем, конечно же.
Farewell, mortal.
Смертный, прощай. Убедить Бога подземного мира отменить золотое правило. Я его все-таки переубедил. Основное задание выполнено, получается. Создать временной парадокс. Так, а это получается тот чел? Я где-то оказался. У храма разрушенного.
Oh. Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Элворд, я как раз тебя ищу.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, temp of play.
Oh, did that lady in the forest send you in here after me? I guess I lost track of time, learning about the history of this place, and it is extraordinary. I'm fairly certain you and I are the first people to set foot in this city for about 2,000 years. Fortunately for us, the last person in here was a Roman man named Galerius, who inscribed an account into a tablet. Apparently, there was a community of 20-something people trapped in here, and living in fear of a curse they called the Golden Rule. They believed that if even one person sinned, an unknown god would cast them all into gold, like the 1,000 people who'd lived here before them. Then, one day, just as Galerius had finished praying for a good harvest at the shrine of Proserpina, an oracle appeared and told him how to solve the ills of the city, like saving the life of a dying woman, preventing the suicide of a man in debt bondage, freeing a falsely accused prisoner, foiling an assassination attempt,
И все я
and so
сделал.
on. Meanwhile, the oracle walked up to the temple of the mysterious god, this one right here, and demanded an audience. And the doors just opened up to him. Nobody knows what went on in there, but Galerius wrote the oracle must have been more persuasive than Odysseus, because the next thing he knew, the ground shook and the voice of that god rang out over the city. The many have suffered long enough. Unfortunately, Galerius' account just sort of stops after that, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. What became of him and the other people who lived here? What happened to all the golden statues? And did this mysterious oracle single-handedly undo the curse that had terrorized people for hundreds of years?
Мои дела рук. Такой сумасшедший люд, кажется, ты думаешь. Лишнего. Ну, по-моему, здесь не важно, что сказать.
I don't know, it reads like an earnest account to me. Anyway, I think I found a way out through the aqueduct that brought water into the city. Follow me.
Давай, погнали. Поговорил я с Эллом, в общем. Нашел его, он живой, получается. По акведуку мы вернулись обратно. А туда мы провалились. Да, и нас туда сначала не пускали. В начале самой игры. Заколачиваешь. Нельзя забрать. Ты идешь, не идешь-то?
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else...
Хорошая идея.
You go on ahead, and I'll be...
Погнали. Река. Так, а нас здесь уже встречают. Ты все стоишь,
You're
ждешь.
back! But you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
Да нет, получится, он сейчас подойдет.
What a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered while we wait?
Что тебе удалось найти? Да, что здесь ходит рын, древний подземный мир. Я уже знаю, что-то не та, за кого себя выдавала. Мы уже встречались 2000 лет назад.
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
Кто ты на самом деле?
You can just call me Carol
Хороном.
if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned from 5,000
5000
years of
лет. Я поняла,
experience
говорит.
that most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time.
И в чем же заключается эта правда?
That you died, of course. You were dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead.
Меня нет в живых, но как это произошло?
Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
Хочу, не хочу. Ну да,
As you wish. You were murdered.
убили.
You made a purchase in a marketplace, and the change you received was, by mistake, a single silver coin of ancient origin. You were seen inspecting it, and soon after, you were set upon by 2 thieves. The shopkeeper who had given you the coin saw the scuffle break out and leapt to your aid. You both fought bravely, but your assailants were armed, and you were not. There was nothing you or your ally could have done. He died instantly at the scene, and you followed a few hours later. That man's name was Al Worth. You were
Поэтому
each
он
in
оказался здесь.
possession of a sacred coin, called Karen's Opal by some. And so it was my duty to bring you here.
Обязанностью. Вот он сказал, что наши селом монеты были последние в мире. Что ты на это скажешь?
It means I am
У
now
меня нет
bereft
цели.
of purpose. There is nobody else to ferry here. Nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
Что у них такого? В принципе, можно сначала спросить, что у них такого, потом, типа, вернуться на живых. Давай спросим.
Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans burying their dead with a coin in their mouths to
Да, это
pay
я
the
слышал.
ferrymen for passage across the river. Well, those stories contained a seed of truth, but not any coin
Ну
would
да,
do.
не особо монеты.
A long time ago, my master created 1,000 silver coins and had me distribute them across the world. My orders were simple. Whenever a person died in possession of a coin, I was to locate them and ferry them here.
Да, Платон понимал, что наши село монеты возлены
It
заново.
means I am now. There is no.
Так, ты можешь меня вернуть нас в мир живых?
I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing.
Нет,
That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an oracle who confronted a god and undid an ancient curse.
Sounds like quite a story. And I look forward to hearing all about it. But you two look
Вы
exhausted.
очень устали.
Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Я же сказал, что хочу. Ну хорошо, Харон, отвези нас домой. Таким глазом смотрит. Типа, что? Год спустя. Чё? По-моему, вот это там была как раз-таки табличка. Мозаика. Вот это Эл, что ли?
Hey, you made it. It's great to see you again. After everything you've been through, I thought you might appreciate some good news. So after we got back to the real world, I started doing some research into the people mentioned in Galerius's tablet. And I found something
Нечто странное.
strange.
Ну-ка.
I'm sorry I've been so cryptic. I've been dying to tell you. I just really wanted you to see this for yourself. Why don't you head on down there? I'll catch up with you at the other end.
Oh, hello.
Так он вот он.
You're finally here. Remember me?
Что ты тут делаешь?
It's a crazy story. After you disappeared, Karen appeared and told us she was returning us to the world. Even gave us some coins to help us start our lives over. Only, for some reason, she returned us to your world instead of ours. Anyway, I know we only ever had that one conversation, and I wasn't even sure if you'd remember me,
Помнишь,
but
это мне говорит.
I wanted to say, Thanks.
Странно то, что почему он в современный мир-то вернул всех.
Giving us a second chance at life.
Вы с Эквити вместе?
I know. I can't believe my luck either. But we're engaged and living together. We're planning to get married next spring. If you're going to be around, we'd love to see you there.
С удовольствием, не отделе. Чем нынче занимаешься?
Oh, I used Karen's gift to buy a farm in Umbria. Got a villa on it too, with enough room for Dooley, of course. It's hard work, but I sleep soundly every night. I'm finally my own man, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Of course, there's a whole museum full of people waiting for a chance to thank you, so you'd better keep moving. We'll speak again soon, my friend.
Странно очень. Дули. Вот он.
Hello, I'm Dooley.
Я помню, кто ты, Дули.
Galerius said you're very nice and a big helper.
There he is.
Thank you for getting us out of the bad place. I didn't like it.
Не нашел свои сокровища.
Treasure? Oh, I forgot about that. I like my box now. Galerius got me a box that tells stories.
Ему, видимо, все равно, в каком мире он живет. Это здорово, правда. Хорошо, что ты счастлив.
Bye-bye.
Ник в шок не повергл, то, что они оказались в современном мире. Вот это мне интересно знать.
You're here. It's so wonderful to see you again.
Взаимно, Кити.
So, you're the hero who somehow vanquished the last of the Roman gods. As I'm a priestess, you realize you've put me out of work. I'm just teasing. Actually, and it still feels a little sacrilegious to say this, I'm finding life after religion quite enjoyable.
Чем нынче занимаешься?
Galerius and I are engaged and expecting. We've just bought a lovely villa in the countryside with room for a large family, and Dooley too, of course. It feels like the world has just opened up for us. There's so much to learn, and so many more possibilities for our children than we ever imagined. We're just so thankful for what you did for us, for all of us.
Как поживает Ливия?
Oh, it's sweet of you to ask. She recovered nicely. In fact, she's here somewhere, if you'd like to ask her yourself.
Хорошо, займусь. Что мы встретились, хорошо.
Wedding, I hope.
Странно, конечно, что они здесь. Я почему-то подумал, что они окажутся Горацией военной, то есть Сентия, Лукреция, Юлия. Все они здесь, в общем, стоят. Со всеми можно поговорить.
Hi there.
Да, Ти-Джей, привет.
You're the Oracle, right?
А мы уже тут практически заканчиваем игрушку.
Oh, of course. Sorry. And I never got a chance to thank you for telling Galerius how to save my life. And of course, getting me and all of us out of a terrible situation.
Что случилось с Малиолом и Клавдией?
Last I heard, Malleolus kept insisting he was the last rightful ruler of the Roman Empire.
Психиатрическую больницу отправили. Ну, понятно.
To a psychiatric hospital. As for Claudia, she was always so viciously unhappy. Someone said she'd blown all her money on wine, trying to drink herself back to the underworld. After the horrific way they treated Ulpius and me, I can't help feeling a sense of... what's that German word? Schadenfreude?
Думаю, тебе можно.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Так, а что случилось с Аврелией?
Someone told me she was boasting about getting her claws into some rich prince, and how she was going to be living the high life from now on. Even in your time, life still isn't fair. Apparently, he'd proposed before they'd even met. And last I heard, she'd bought herself a first-class one-way ticket to join him in some exotic place called... what was it? Nigeria?
Нигерия.
Some people have all the luck.
Принц. Понятно, нашла на себе принца Нигерии.
Well, you are the Oracle, so I suppose I'll take your word for it. Huh. I feel better already. Thank you.
Чем занимаешься?
Oh, I barely recognize myself. I'm living in a house share in London with my wonderful girlfriend. And I'm studying English at university. Eventually, I want to travel the world and write about it. Turns out, it's about 30 times bigger than the Roman Empire ever was. Did you know there are entire continents Rome never knew existed? And you can travel almost anywhere in an aircraft, which is rather like flying on a Pegasus, but much more comfortable. Oh, sorry, you already know all that, of course. I'm just so excited. There's so much to see and learn and write about.
Здорово взглянуть на мир свежим взглядом.
I have noticed people from your time have no idea how fortunate they are. I hope to change that. One day.
Приятно было видеть тебя.
You too. If you're ever in London, let me know. We can go to bars and drink wine and listen to the stories of the 9 million people who live there.
Обязательно.
I hope so.
Так, Лукреция.
You are here. It's nice to finally meet you. Lucy is fine.
Lucy.
I'm making an effort to blend in, as you can see. We are all trying to keep a low profile. If the world knew we died 2,000 years ago and were suddenly brought back to life 12 months ago, they'd never leave us alone. Speaking of which, I wanted to say thank you in person. I'd say the gods smile on you, but I hear you drove the last of them off. So,
Чем
I'm
занимаешься?
studying to get into medical school. As much as I resented the responsibility of keeping everyone in the city alive, when it ended, I realized I missed it. So I guess I'll just keep saving the world, if begrudgingly, one patient at a time.
Здорово было с тобой увидеться.
You
Саша.
too. Don't be a stranger.
Да.
Hey,
Гораций.
Hi there, I'm Horatius.
Привет, Гораций.
I understand we have you to thank for giving us a second chance at life, and reuniting Scintilla with us as well. So, thank you.
Чем
I'm living up
занимаешься?
north and studying in the military academy in Modena. I'm going to be an officer one day. The world's changed a lot, but some things stay the same. Would you believe we're still studying military tactics from my time? Alexander the Great, Caesar, Hannibal Barca. Still, I have to keep challenging myself to let go of old ways of thinking and embrace the new. As Seneca wrote, the ones who pioneered our paths aren't our masters, but our guides.
Жаль, что ты так и не увидишь свою девушку.
Ah, you remembered that. Thank you. I grieved for a time, but that's done. In the words of Epictetus, as those who rode behind triumphant generals remind them they are mortal, remind yourself your precious one isn't one of your possessions, but something given for now, not forever.
Хорошо сказано.
Thanks.
Так, а что стало с твоим приятелем Домицием?
He's not my... Oh, I see what you did there. Good one. He had more trouble adapting than most. He got himself disqualified from the UFC. So he started some kind of underground blood sport tournament, like we had in Rome. Suppose it appealed to people's baser instincts. And they say he made some good coin, killing a bunch of men like that. But his luck finally ran out, and his life along with it. You know what they say. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Похоже, он получил по заслугам.
You're not wrong. And you. Farewell.
Так, давай с тобой Синтия.
I take it you're the Oracle. Thanks for coming.
Что мы снова встретились.
Actually, I changed my name to Cynthia. I didn't want to be
Синтия, не
associated with
Сентия, а
Sentius
Синтия.
after what happened. I'm not sure if you heard, but after you drove Pluto off, Proserpina emerged from the Great Temple. She knew right away what none of us had figured out about that psychopath. He'd been keeping my little sister locked up in the upper cistern all that time. But he's been dealt with. He's... you know what? The important thing is, we'll never see him again.
Чем занимаешься?
Anything I want. I'm a woman of means in a vast new world. I can go wherever and do whatever I please. Of course, I mostly just stay in my villa and have my servant Alexa summon things for me, because it's just awful out there. Barbarians everywhere.
Варвары. А что случилось с Сенти?
He's still there, all alone. The last golden statue in the underworld. Trapped in a metal shell, slowly losing his mind until the end of time. Eternal torment. Just what he deserves, if you ask me.
Хорошо. Было приятно.
You too. See you around.
Так, кто там у нас остался-то? Философ-отшельник, этот... Георгий. Грех.
Greetings. You must be the legendary oracle.
Почему меня Ралком
It is a
звать?
sincere privilege to finally make your acquaintance. I am Georgius. I am told we have you to thank for freeing us from Hades, and for that I am most grateful.
Чем
I am
занимаешься?
reacquainting myself with Greece. It has changed so much over the last 2000 years, I barely recognize it. This is at once heartbreaking and thrilling. Perhaps one day, once I have seen all of this new Greece and sampled her delights, I will settle down in Santorini in a villa overlooking the Azure Aegean Sea. I hope you will join me there and regale me with the story of how you faced off against the fearsome god of the underworld and won.
Я приду. Приятно было повидаться.
You too, my friend.
Так, Фабия.
You're the one we've been waiting for. I'm Fabia.
Привет,
I wanted to say
Фабия.
thanks for sending Galerius to save my life. I don't know how you knew, but I would have been crushed by that shrine for sure.
Ни за что.
I'm just so happy to be here with you and everyone together again, even if it's just for one more night.
А почему на одну ночь?
Well, it's not like I have to work with all the silver Karen gave me, so I just do what makes me happy. Mostly that means
Харон дал им
my
денег
friends
всем.
and looking at memes while binging TV shows in yoga pants. What a time to be alive.
Хорошо, что ты счастлива.
Thank you. I really am. You too.
Так, философ остался, Фелиция. Много еще.
And here you are. It's wonderful to see you again.
Так, ты мне скажешь твое имя, нет?
Oh, and by the way, I go by
Philip.
Philip now. A fine Greek name. I
Сказал
never
всё-таки.
thought I'd leave that cave, let alone the city. And now I'm living in the 21st century. What a time to be alive. And it seems I have your catabasis to thank for it.
Твоим злоключением. Чем занимаешься?
I'm working as a consultant to the Faculty of Classics at Cambridge University, helping fill the odd gap in their knowledge. Not that I need the money, but I do love being around enlightened minds again.
До сих пор считаешь, что утопию построить невозможно?
Aha! You remember that? I have to admit, I have been profoundly impressed by the advances humans have made these past 2 millennia. The sum total of human knowledge available at our fingertips, miraculous modern medicines, and a series of prosperous democracies. Your contemporaries have come further toward utopia than I ever thought possible, though there's still a way to go.
Однажды у нас получится.
I hope so. My sincere thanks once again.
Так, кто тут остался? Октавия.
Oh, hello. It's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I'm thankful that you're here.
I was sure the person who drove off the last pagan god would have more important things to do than visit the likes of us. But thank you for coming and for saving our lives. What you did was extraordinary, and I'll never forget it. I'm living in Rome again, in a charming little flat by the Tiber. Not far from my old place. Oh, and I'm training to be a crisis counselor. After you sent Galerius to persuade Ulpius not to take his own life, I was inspired. I just want to spend the rest of my life helping people, like you helped him.
Благородная цель, ты молодец.
Thank you. That means a lot. And you. Oh, and I hope this isn't too forward, but some of us are going out for a drink after this, if you'd like to join us.
Звучит неплохо, я за.
Wonderful. I'll see you soon.
Все хотят со мной повидаться.
Some soiree, innit?
Деци. Это торгаш.
Oh, hello at last. You must be the oracle I've heard so much about. I'm Dacius. Listen, I wanted to express my sincere appreciation for what you did. If it wasn't for you, I'd never been able to sell all those useless old relics I accumulated. Whatever you did in that temple made me a very wealthy man. Thank you.
Настоящим богачом. Просто уж совершенно случайно.
Such a acerbic wit. I love it.
Чем занимаешься,
I
чувак?
took the money I made from selling my trinkets and started investing in the stock market. That's where the real money is now. In fact, I was hoping to ask your advice, you being the oracle and future seer and all that, on which stocks I should invest in next. I can't decide between fossil fuels, tobacco, gambling and arms. What would you recommend?
К сожалению, я не могу видеть будущее.
Oh, don't be like that. You can tell your old pal Dacius. I won't take no for an answer.
Прокатать светлое будущее. Людей не станет. Ложь. Ну, все, что не выберешь, ложь. Проката DVD светлое будущее. Соврать ему про DVD.
Oh, of course, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'll go home and buy up as much stock as I can tonight. I'm gonna make a bloody fortune.
Подставили его.
Of course, don't let me keep you. Thanks again for the tips, my friend.
Good evening.
Hello there.
Ливия. А,
Greetings. Thank you for your kind words
пришла в себя.
and for liberating us all. In all the time I was in the underworld, I never once imagined that I might end up in a place so much like Elysium.
Так. Чем занимаешься?
I'm recovering. Octavia was kind enough to let me stay with her for a while. At least until I'm well enough to be independent again.
Не пыталась ли тебе хороших поимок?
Ah, you remember that. I'm a little tired of Ovid, but that's all right. I have 2,000 years worth of poetry to catch up on now. I'm already up to the 19th century, and am quite enjoying the work of a fellow named Poe. I think I may have found a kindred spirit. Men have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence.
Хорошо сказано. Так, было приятно тебя
And
видеть.
you. Farewell, friend.
Кто у нас там остался? Вот еще много их тут. Хабаш.
Plundered any more tombs lately, my friend?
Да не напрягается.
I must say, I am ashamed of the way I acted when we first met. If I had known you would go on to confront and triumph over the tyrant masquerading as the Lord of Silence, I would never have blocked your passage.
Не переживай, все хорошо закончилось.
You are most gracious. I too would like to offer my thanks for releasing us from that place and for your role in bringing us here. This world is truly wondrous.
Ну, чем же занимаешься,
For a
Хабаш?
time, I returned to
Хабашем.
Alexandria, but they have no need of another fisherman, and I came to see there is nothing for me there. Instead, I have decided to follow the custom of your youths and backpack the world. It is a great adventure, and I have met many people from many cultures. I spent the first 25 years of my life avoiding the 42 sins that would deny me access to the afterlife. Now, I think it is time I had some fun.
Удачи.
Thank you. Thank you, Oracle.
Все называют меня Ораклом. Оракулом.
Hello there.
Сентила.
Oh, I go by Gabriella now. I didn't want to be reminded of that monster every time I heard my own name. After you drove Pluto off, Proserpina came and released me, and that monster got what was coming to him.
Мне очень жаль, кто мог подумать, что это был Сенти.
Don't worry, nobody did.
Чем нынче занимаешься?
I'm living with Ulpius on a little vineyard in Umbria. It's even more wonderful than I dreamed it would be. I'm so grateful to you for making sure he's still with us. If you're ever passing through the region, I hope you'll come and visit us. You can try some of our very own wine.
Чем может быть?
Thanks. You too.
Так, это у нас Ульпий.
It's nice to finally put a face to the name. I'm Ulpius.
Да я помню, что
I
Ульпий.
understand I have you to thank for sending Galerius to save my life. The way you just showed up out of the blue and stopped me from making a terrible mistake. I'll be forever in your debt. I'm living with Gabriella in Umbria. We finally bought the little vineyard we always dreamed of. It'll be a little while before we know what we're doing, but every day I look at her and this extraordinary new world with all its beauty, and I think, what if I'd given up hope and missed out on all of this? So we're living each day to the fullest. And we end them all the same way, sitting together on our terrace with a glass of our wine, which the locals say is almost drinkable now, and watching the sunset over the rolling hillside. And I couldn't be happier.
Чудесно.
It really is. You too.
Так, здесь у нас кто? Руфи и Вергилий.
Nice to meet you. I go by Rufus now. New start, new name. Oh, and thanks, by the way, for what you did. Sorry, I'm no good with the mushy stuff.
Зато действительно последили за нами.
Good to know. Anyway, it was good practice for the new world. Security cameras and smartphones everywhere. Got to stay vigilant.
Это точно. Чем занимаешься?
I live with Virgil in Rotterdam, not far from where he
С
grew up.
Вирджилом вместе живут.
It's very modern. Destroyed in the war, and it rebuilt itself. Good place for a fresh start. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with my life yet. One adjustment at a time.
Ладно.
You too.
Давай, чувак.
Look us up next time you're in the Netherlands. We're grateful.
Так, и Вергилий. Ты
It's
все к
so
мужикам
nice to
пристаешь,
finally
да?
meet you. I've heard so much about you. I wanted to thank you personally for getting us out of there, and for helping Rufus come to terms with himself. He may come off a little gruff, but once you get past that, he's a lovely fellow. I'm studying to be an architect again and living with Rufus in our beautiful flat in Rotterdam, just down the river from Nijmegen, where I grew up. Of course, it's improved immensely since I was there last. Gleaming futuristic buildings and clean streets full of educated, accepting people. You natives of the 21st century have no idea how fortunate you are. You too, as Rufus said in his own laconic way. If you're ever in the Netherlands, we'd love to show you around. It's the least we could do.
Все, получается, со всеми поговорил, да? Или кто-то один там остался, последний. А про Зерпина, она, интересно знать, будет тут? Не будет? Я вроде не вижу. Ты кто вообще?
There you are.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed that. Now, there's one more person I wanted to introduce you to.
А не
I
слышать.
think you know her.
Сзади.
Sorry if I frightened you. Just a little joke I've been saving for a long, long time.
Я вот знаю этот голос.
Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Proserpina, former goddess of the cycle of life and renewal, and now a regular mortal. I wanted to meet you in person, and thank you for freeing all these people, and me. I hate to think what would have happened to us without your intervention.
То есть это ты все нашептал мне это время, ты создавал петлю времени, что стало с Плутоном, что стало с Хароном, благоприятство. Давай спросим сначала ее. Ты создал петлю времени.
I may have given up my immortality, but I still retain my gifts as the goddess of a cycle of life and renewal. After witnessing Pluto punish countless poor souls over thousands of years, I knew this generation, the final wave, would not survive. So I tried to give them a way to buy more time. A second chance. Rather, as many second chances as they needed to avoid his wrath.
Ну да.
Indeed. Suffice it to say that while Pluto was controlling the eyes and ears of each golden statue, I was able to control their tongues and whisper to you when he was distracted. I am sorry my messages were so cryptic. There were only ever brief windows in which I could speak to you without being detected.
Ты делала все, что могла, спасибо. Так, что стало с Плутоном?
I don't know what happened to him.
Аидом или как его
I
еще
haven't
там?
heard from him, and I rather hope it stays that way.
А что стало с Хароном?
Oh, she inherited dominion over the underworld. Last time we spoke, she was working on a new world of some kind. She wouldn't say what it was, but I'd be surprised if you don't run into her again. I imagine we all will, one day.
Было приятно познакомиться.
And you, although it feels like I've known you forever. Oh, and one last thing. Do you remember all those golden statues scattered throughout the city?
Ну-ка, да, конечно.
Good, because they remember you. Well done, my friend. Of all the heroes who ever journeyed to the underworld and returned, none came close to achieving what you did. Hercules, Orpheus,
То есть
Theseus,
это все
and Aeneas.
золотые статуи, которые были. Ничего себе. Вот так вот. Концовка 4 из 4. То есть это, получается, можно было на ранней стадии первую получить, вторую, потом дальше, третью. А я получил самую дальнюю, получается. Самую длинную. Ну и самую счастливую, я считаю, наверное. Вот так вот. Все, игра закончилась. Неплохая игрушка. Может, я что-то еще не выполнил, не доспросил. Какие-то квесты можно было по-другому, конечно, выполнить. Но я вот лично так вот прошел ее. Хотя из дополнительных заданий, по-моему, там ничего уже не оставалось. Там ящик Пандоры, что-то какое-то там было, что-то какое-то я не открыл, там что-то не понял, как его сделать, это задание. И для этого Дулу, или как он, с ключ он какой-то не обещал, там от сокровища какого-то найти в акведуке где-то там. А так вроде все. Те, кто озвучил. Сам то, что типа, мол, игру делали 3 человека. Но уже получается, что не 3 человека, 22 человека. Потому что озвучивали-то, они тоже роль принимали в разработке игры. Получается так, что ли. Мод, который должен был предназначаться для игры Skyrim, превратился в игру. В отдельную игру, да. Прикольно. А как же ее звали-то? Она так и осталась, да. Невия. Невия так и осталась. С ней, получается, я ее не нашел.